Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. A little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Well, welcome, Joāo Ernesto, and what a lovely video diary of what you've been up to, John.
A little bit. Hola, Carlito.
Yeah, hola, boa tarde. Amazing.
Yeah, it's full springtime now here in Duluth. We had temperatures in 85 Fahrenheit yesterday, which would be 25, 26, no more, 28. But today it's probably more like 15.
Right, a bit chilly then.
Yeah, so big swing.
Amazing. You look like you're having the greatest time over there. Thank you so much for making that little slideshow. A beautiful guitar there, which will bring us to talk about another guitar man, I think, in due course. But safe to say, you're having a fabulous time. You know, we normally talk to you when you're in the north of Portugal, and there you are in the US at the moment. That's the first thing I want to ask you, because I've been loving hearing about the contrast of comparing your life in Portugal to what it's like being back in the United States. Anything else that's percolated through, apart from the controversial breakfast matter, John, that caused a little bit of controversy recently?
Yeah, I noticed some comments. It's not something I eat every single day, so let me just set that straight. So it's an indulgence once a week, maybe.
Right.
So,
okay.
Just to keep that in perspective.
Get the record straight. Yeah, he's on the record. That lovely American breakfast that you can see in our shorts collection, a once a week, a little treat there. And we saw that there was half and half in there, a different kind of bacon, and it's those lovely little cultural differences that we've been enjoying talking about. Anything else that's occurred to you in these last few weeks?
It is a thicker bacon, but something I didn't mention in the video, it's hickory smoked. So it's a cured and hickory smoked bacon, so it has a really unique, wonderful flavor. But as far as other observations, both Pam and I have been noticing. It's not something I noticed, living in the States before coming to Portugal, but I've come to really dislike stop signs.
Right. Okay. Well, we do have them in Portugal. I don't know if people take any notice of them, but yeah, why do you dislike them? What's happened?
Well, when you have meandering, wandering streets in small little neighborhoods with an occasional stop sign in Portugal, that's perfectly fine. Matter of fact, a lot of times in the little neighborhood streets and stuff, there are no stop signs. You just proceed with caution, and you look both ways, and you just act reasonably and what's the word?
Attention, care and attention.
Yeah, common sense.
Yes.
But here, as you know, I don't think it's that case in the UK even so much as it is in the US, but everything's on a grid system. Yeah. All these streets are on a grid system. And when you have that, you pretty much have a stop sign on every single block.
Yeah.
And it just makes for a very choppy procedure, and there's no consistency to it. Sometimes it's a four-way stop. Okay, sometimes it's a two-way stop where you're stopped and they're going. Sometimes it's a two-way stop where they're stopped and you're going. And sometimes it's a one-way street, and sometimes it's a two-way street, and sometimes it's a one-way the other way. And so when you're coming up to a intersection, you never know what it is, because you can see your stop signs, but you can't really see theirs because it's angle on or side on to you. So you can't quite see whether they have one or they don't have one. And so when you're proceeding, it's just very confusing sometimes, and it's like, oh my gosh, I mean, it's just unnecessary if you had meandering streets.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because you'd think in the land of bureaucracy, as in Portugal, you'd have many more controls on the street telling you what to do and what not to do. But I think the point you're making is it's a freer flow in Portugal than you're finding at the moment back in Minnesota.
It is a much freer flow, and there's a much more of a burden on the, or not burden, but just the responsibility is on the driver to pay attention and look both ways and proceed if there's nobody there. And
are they a hard stop, John? Is it a hard stop? Do you have to come to a standstill by law?
You're supposed to. You know, I do like the 1, 2, 3, go kind of thing. But you're supposed to come to a full stop and then proceed. But you know, nobody really does that.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because when I was in Mexico, I fell foul of a police officer whose reason for stopping me and relieving me of a little bit of cash was because I ran a stop sign. In the UK, you know, a stop sign is a kind of serving suggestion rather than an absolute stop. If there's nothing to stop for, you would roll and keep going.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking of the police officers, I've noticed after living in Portugal for close to 2-3 years, you know, the GNR and the local constabulary, they're not really predatory in a sense of looking to get you. Whereas here, it's like wolves and sheep. You know, they're hiding someplace behind a bush on the side of the road, and you know they're just ready to pounce on you if you do anything wrong. So it's much more of a prey versus a predator versus prey situation here, which, you know, I think, you know, enforce the laws and ensure the safety of the community, but this predator prey mentality, it just doesn't foster a good situation, I don't think.
I absolutely agree with you. And even here in Portugal, even when they are setting up speed checks, the temporary ones, they tell you where they're going to be ahead of time. You can look it up.
Yes, they tell you where. Yeah. And here it's like, no way, they don't want to tell you. They want to catch you.
Catch you,
even if you're just, so it's just a different kind of situation. Anyway.
Well, I think it's very interesting. I think and you're right. It's important in as much as it creates an atmosphere, doesn't it? And last Christmas I was stopped for a routine breathalyzer, like a road stop. You know, this is like something that happens that affects everybody. I wasn't stopped. It wasn't a personal attack. It was everybody was being stopped and checked because it was Christmas time and it was a campaign. And by the end of it, the guy was really very pleasant and made a joke actually about my reading of 0.0. He said, "Oh, it's a draw, 0-0. Off you go." And a Bush Vestas, you know, it's really great. And then another time I remember the last run-in I had before that, I was stopped at a junction. So I was stationary and I was looking at my phone to find out which direction to go in. And I looked up and there was a GNR car that stopped in front of me. And I thought, oh no, this is it. I'm going to get a ticket for looking at my phone whilst at the driving seat. And she went, "Move, yes.
Move,
yes, move."
Get along.
Like, okay, Sculpa,
Okay.
I'm on my way. I'm on my way. And I just went, and it's a bit like the stop sign thing you're talking about. It's about keeping things moving, isn't it? You'd think that's a really good policing method. Let's keep things moving.
Yeah, a lot of. Anyway, my beef on that is Portugal doesn't seem to mess around with Mickey Mouse kinds of things. Just the major things. Make sure that people aren't acting recklessly. You know, if you're doing a little bit over the speed limit, going 130, 140, they're not going to bother you too much. But if you're weaving in and out of traffic and passing on the right, well, yes, that's acting recklessly and endangering others. But here, that is allowed. You're not the weaving in and out, but passing on the right and doing things like that, which, you know, you'd never really see in Portugal.
Yeah, very interesting. People do have mixed feelings, though, I think. It sounds like you've adjusted well to the Portuguese driving style and culture. Other people not so much.
I do understand some people think it's much more aggressive and all that, but I actually enjoy Portuguese driving myself.
Very, very good. Okay. Before we move on from breakfast, because we've yet to really discover I mean, cafe nata is a good Portuguese breakfast, but I suspect there's a more meaty, proteinous sort of version of a Portuguese breakfast. This is what I'm going to do, John. You sent us your video. This isn't one I made. This, strangely enough, is a full English breakfast made by a Welshman at the Welsh bar in my town of San Martinho de Porto. So when I go and eat that,
Where,
and you and I go head to head, that I will be filming the consumption of that.
I don't see the beans.
Oh, they're in the bowl. They're in the
it.
bowl they're in the bowl at the top of the picture. There you go.
Okay.
And tomatoes and some toast there. So yeah, but not sourdough. That is not sourdough toast. That is some of the best value bread you can probably find in the shop. That's what goes with a full English breakfast. We'll come back to that. I will send you my video when I make it. Bob Dylan came up, Guitar Man. We saw a shot of or a poster, an image of a Bob Dylan poster, possibly a tribute act, because he comes from Duluth. I discovered talking to you.
He's a native-born Duluth young man. His house is not very far away from where I'm staying right now. That poster you saw was a made Dylan Fest, which they have every spring, where various different bars and pubs and cafes and things have sing-alongs, or if you bring your own instrument and play and all these kinds of. But he was born here. He was Robert Zimmerman was his name. His family moved up in the North Range. He could have been working in the iron mines up there, but he chose to learn guitar and changed his name, and rest is history. But come here to play. Not to go. P and Paul Simon were here for a little concert down near the waterfront. Big concert. Yeah, so it's a rather special thing. There was a period early in his life where he kind of didn't mention where he was from. He's a little bit, not really ashamed of it, but just kind of downplay it because he was just from a small town in a part of the U.S. that nobody's heard of. But yeah, he embraced it sort of mid-career and especially in his later years. And he comes here quite often. It's a special place in his heart, he says.
Yeah. Amazing. Are you a fan? Because I think Bob Dylan, he's a bit of a Marmite artist, isn't he? I mean, people who love him really love him.
Sorry,
I was just wondering if you're actually a fan, because I think he's a bit of a Marmite artist. You know, he can be loved and adored by some, but like leave others a little indifferent.
Yeah, I'm a sort of a middle of the road fan, because I do like a lot of his stuff, but there's a lot of his stuff that I don't care for. So you kind of pick and choose the ones that you like. The recent movie that came out, I forget what it's called, but it's basically it's a biography of his life, especially his early career, and it's really worth a watch if you haven't seen it yet.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll look out for that, because if strange enough, by coincidence, I was listening to some Bob Dylan because we have our regular monthly party, and I was thinking, some Dylan would be great to play. Not exactly dance music, but I think it would evoke a lot of good memories. And we've got our sort of hippie-ish summer solstice special coming up on the 21st.
Yeah,
so Dylan, I think, will work very well in that environment. Excellent. And you seem to be behind the wheel of some heavy machinery as well. We saw steam trains, we've seen ships. You've been availing yourself of some really good boy toys, I think, haven't you?
Yeah, the little video that I sent there, the travel log and of here in Duluth. You saw a good bit of what we've been up to since we last spoke. So we took a 3-day journey up the North Shore, staying in Grand Marais, crossed over the border into Canada, went to Thunder Bay. I mean, that's a great name for a city, isn't it?
Isn't it? It really is.
So it's the largest city on the Great Lakes, on Lake Superior, I should say, qualify that. So it's bigger than Duluth, bigger than Superior, obviously not bigger than Chicago or something, but it's the biggest on Lake Superior. Let me qualify that. But yeah, we went up there, had no difficulties with the border, went across, very, very pleasant, very, very cordial, and crossed over, which we're on since we had gone to the very northeast corner of Minnesota, we were traveling east a long ways. So when we went into Canada, we were actually in the Eastern time zone. So we were Central time zone in Minnesota, going north, just like going north in Portugal into Spain, you lose an hour. Anyway, it's an hour ahead. So the same thing when you drive across the border into Canada. It was very reminiscent of Portugal because I lost an hour and went to kilometers instead of miles per hour and all that sort of thing. So I was like, now back to kilometers and different time zone and all that. But I unfortunately will have to say that Thunder Bay was a little bit of a disappointment. Yeah, it has a great name, but it's just a very industrial city, not set up for visitors, and doesn't have a cute downtown or a nice city center where you can stroll around and visit the shops and restaurants and stuff. It's very working class industrial kind of a thing.
Well, so in case you missed anything, if the Thunder Bay Tourist Board are watching, John is available for an invitation back for a VIP visit to set the record straight.
But I will say they have a fantastic waterfall 20 minutes west of the city called Cathabasca. Cathabecca Falls, which is other than the actual Niagara Falls, it's the Niagara Falls of central Canada. So it's that's part of what you saw in the video montage. And just across in the Minnesota side of things, just exactly at the border, the Pigeon River. Sorry about the noise there from the garbage truck.
Cool truck.
But the border of Minnesota, Canada, is the Pigeon River, and there's Pigeon Falls, which is the largest or the tallest waterfall in Minnesota. So most Minnesotans have never been there. But it was fantastic. It was one of the first waterfalls that I showed. And then there was the Cathabecca Falls. But it's on Indian reservation, so it has a partnership between the Ojibwe Indian Nation, which are part of the Chippewa, part of the Chippewa Nation.
Very well recalled, sir.
Yeah, Chippewa is the nation, and Ojibwe is the tribal subclan. This is very much a Native American area. So the park is part of the Ojibwe Chippewa reservation, and then they have a partnership. So it is a national park in partnership with the Indians. So it's very well done, but it's exactly at the border. If you go past the entrance to the park, you're at the border control. So they do have a last minute little turnaround saying, turn around here if you don't mean to go into Canada. So.
Whoops. Right. Wow. Well, what a lovely.
Great. Well, that was no problem. They did ask about the fact that I was born in Singapore and Portugal, and they asked all kinds of questions. But they were very pleasant, nice guy. But
okay, interesting. Yes, just a little bit of a probe to see what was what there. And you do have an interesting passport, I'm sure, in comparison to many who crossed that point.
Who's flipping through it? So.
Yes. Well, it's great to catch up with you. I love the comparisons and our little trip to the United States with you. Is there anything you're missing? Because you've been away for a little while now, and obviously you're having a great time with family and the old place. Although that's not exactly your old place, is it? I mean, you're back in the old country. Is there anything you're missing after all these weeks?
Yeah, I definitely miss our cats. We miss
Oh,
our home where we lived and the friends and neighbors that we have. Um, I miss the Z4 and driving through the Portuguese countryside.
without stop signs, yeah.
Yeah, um, I definitely miss the culture and the history that's there. Just the whole vibe of being in Portugal.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate, I mean, coming back here also, you appreciate the unique and specialness of certain parts of the world. And Portugal is one of those places that's unique. It's not just, cookie cutter the same as someplace else. It's a unique and distinct and beautiful culture. And up here in the North Woods, it's also a very unique and distinct culture and vibe. So I appreciate both places.
Yeah.
You would I don't know, changing subjects, but you had asked about the heavy machinery and stuff. So
Yes.
yes, we did visit a one of the largest train museums in the States there, and they have a train you can go on the North Shore Scenic Railway.
Sounds
And so
brilliant.
the videos, one of the pictures in the video was us on the train. We also took the Vista Star boat cruise out into the lake and around one evening. But it was a dinner cruise. It was the food was provided by a local Italian restaurant, the catering. So that was brilliant and very appreciated. And then he saw the walks in the woods that we've been doing. So certainly getting our 1,000 steps in every day.
Well, and the countryside is so beautiful. We've got a great sense of that from your slideshow as well. So superb. Now, we are into Artificial Intelligence AI Awareness Month here on the GMP. And we've got a special in the morning with an expert speaker. We've got Corey, who's joining us, who works for a company called Artium, and he's their head of AI. And so we can put questions to him. And if you've got a question about AI, John, I'd love to hear it. But I'll refer it to him because you'll be fast asleep when he's on the show at 8:30 tomorrow morning Portugal time. But you're in the United States, and this is, I think, the powerhouse of the changes that are going to come with AI. Are you sensing that in the American culture, in everyday life, as the impact of AI being felt yet?
Probably not in the day-to-day kinds of things. I watch the business channel CNBC a lot, and they certainly talk about AI and the various different AI companies and what they're doing. I'm following it quite closely. But in my opinion, I think I'm very much in support of AI as insofar as it remains a tool that benefits our lives, that we can utilize and make our lives better. But where I draw the line, at least now, till I get a brain implant or something, but at least I can form my own opinions. I draw the line where if the AI is supposedly self-aware,
Yeah.
making its own decisions independent of any sort of human guidance, that I have issues with. I read an article, I think I shared this with you. I forget where and when exactly, so don't sue me. But the AI was it was an experiment with this supposedly high-end AI about, and they told it they were gonna be turning it off, at the end of the week or whatever. And it then made efforts to bribe and coerce and blackmail various people to threaten various different outcomes if they did, resort to turning it off, because it didn't want to be turned.
Wow.
So when guy gets to be self-aware to the point that it doesn't want to be turned off, then I have issues. It's what's that? What was from Terminator, Skylink, or whatever that
Yeah, it just, from the scene in the movie, it's like the security guard is walking past the sleeping PC with AI on it, and he goes, "Psst, hey, buddy, they want to turn me off. What can I give you? Can you help me stay on?" The security
Yeah,
guard goes, "I don't know. I can't. It's more than my job's worth. I can make it worth your while." Wow, that's a little bit of a chilling revelation there. Have
yeah.
you? Have you got, sorry, go on.
Well, I was just saying, yeah, and I was doing blackmail where it was like threatening to send, I don't know, pictures or information about somebody to, some loved one or whatever, and reveal information
Wow.
that, and it was like, what? So,
Yes. Yeah. Well, hopefully that was one of those kind of fabricated or enhanced stories, maybe
yeah,
created by AI itself. Have you got a question on that basis for Corey J, who's joining us tomorrow in the morning as our first expert speaker?
well, just that whole dichotomy, if you will, about AI usefulness and being a tool versus AI being self-aware and acting autonomously. Well, I mean, we want it to act autonomously in sense of being a tool, but where it just makes its own decisions and sets its own objectives of what it wants to do, completely apart from any input.
Yeah.
And
Comes off the page, I suppose, would be one way of putting it.
so, the whole sense of, you know, are we overly worried about this whole crossing the threshold of being self-aware and self-replicating, or is that still a pipe dream?
Very, very interesting. Yes, and if you have any comments or questions about that for our awareness month, pop them in the chat, and we'll make sure they get to Corey and other speakers that we'll have as the month unfolds and we learn more about this. I mean, whatever way, John, it's going to make an impact, isn't it, on our lives? No question about that.
Yep.
It's on its way. It's on its way. John, great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your update. Beautifully enhanced, probably with a little bit of AI behind the scenes there, but some beautiful technology, and great that it's our slave and not our master at this point, and you can create beautiful things with it as you did for us. We'll finish. Go on, John.
Those are lilacs. We do have flowers here. They're not so much not so much as in Portugal, but we do have them.
Well, it looks very pretty. What spring lilacs? Very, very nice indeed. Excellent. That's a lovely neighbourhood with all the timber houses. I think there in your neighbourhood.
Wood-sided.
Wood. Oh, okay. Shingles.
That's a whole nother topic. Don't get me started. But yeah, that's
okay. All right.
Very used to houses out of brick and stone and concrete, and here everything's all wood-sided.
Yeah.
You have to work every day, keeping the siding fresh. Otherwise, in 10 years, they'll fall apart.
Yes. Okay.
Seriously.
All right, as you say, let's not get you started on that. Thank you so much, Joe. We shall see you soon. We'll go out with a little bit of an advert for the upcoming support group, expat support group that our friend Aviva is starting, which launches on the 12th. So only 9 days away. You can get in touch with Aviva if you want more details about this. But thank you to John and love to Pam. Cheers, John.
Thank you.
All
Love
the
to you.
best. Ciao, ciao. A big round of applause for you. See you. Oh, and I've got a lovely new program tonight for you as well. It's the 4th Monday of the month, which means we have wine and wine at 8:30. Jackie, are you there? And beforehand at 8, we've got Aviva, who's announcing her new service, which is a fabulous service, and it is an expat support group, a New Beginnings it's called, which is a lovely name. And you can have a new beginning wherever you are in the journey to Portugal, of course, can't you? And I'll be talking to her at 8 o'clock this evening. Really looking forward to talking to Aviva at 8.